Fantastic. Now let's talk about the book cover that you did for the Metal Mayhem book.
Okay.
Tell us about how that job came to you, how it was approached, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I had done a website for a model. She was kind of a gothic model, and the author of the book had actually contacted me through her website, and he said, I wrote this book and I need a cover and I like your work, so, just kind of give me an idea about what we could do here. So that's kind of how that got started. And he explained, how he had spent a lot of time there in Sunset Strip in Hollywood in the early 80s before Motley Crue, when they were still playing clubs and everything. And he kind of lived that lifestyle and he wrote a book about it. And, I kind of took that idea and I said, well, we need to make it look metal, and it needs to have something with an 80s vibe, so that's kind of where the animal print comes in. So.
Now, are those all ideas that you had to come up with, or was he supplying them, or you're bouncing them back and forth?
No, I actually I came up with the idea first.
Okay.
And I think my first version, I think there was a belt, like a spike belt or something, and I don't remember, but he said, well, let's kind of try something else different with that, and I was like, okay, and then like the next couple of tries, that was it. He's like, yeah, this is it. This is what I like here. So that's where it went from there.
Wow, that's a lot like the process that we went through with you when you did the school logo for us.
Yeah.
But I think you and I exchanged a lot more tweaks back and forth.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but I think we got a good one. Jen, we get so many compliments on your work.
Well, great.
And I just tell everybody, hey, I can't draw a straight line, to save my life. I said, you have to compliment Jen. Well, now take us through. Now, obviously, you already, had the contact with Frankie Banali, and when the Led Zeppelin tribute album that he put together, with all his friends.
Uh-huh.
And I can barely name anybody who's not on that album.
Right, yeah.
But tell us about that, because that is some really powerful artwork there.
Well, thank you. Actually, how it started, I think even before Frankie had recorded a track for that CD, he said, I'm thinking about doing this Led Zeppelin tribute CD. Let's put together, a concept and see what we can come up with for it. So he kind of sent me some stock photos and things, and I sit and kind of played with that a little bit. And we passed it back and forth, and we came up with ideas, and, he would look at it and say, oh, well, let's change this to that. And so I think I said, finally once I said, let's kind of make this look kind of like one of those old Fillmore rock posters. And he really liked that idea. He was like, yeah, and let's make it in psychedelic colors. So we kind of went with that, and it evolved into the cover that you see now. And then we tied in like the cloth that you see on the inside sleeve. My idea was to have sort of a clock suspended in space and time.
Right.
That never stopped. That was always keeping time. And I wanted to have it look aged because everything ages with time. That's just a fact of life. So that's why it looks kind of rusty, and you see broken stained glass. So I sent that to Frankie, and he loved it. He was like, yeah, I love this. But instead of the numbers, let's replace the numbers with symbols that represent each song.
Great, just like how Zeppelin on Zeppelin 4 used a symbol to represent each musician.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that kind of tied in with Led Zeppelin too.
Right.
So that's what we did. We, we found these clip art pictures, and we placed them in each place to represent a number, and that's how it came out. So when it came time to put the hands on, I thought, what time is it? So I asked Frankie, and he said it's 4 o'clock. And I said, okay, why is it 4 o'clock? And he said, because there's 4 members in Led Zeppelin, and also the hands are pointing to the water signs when the levee breaks in the ocean.
Right, okay. Now, see, that's interesting because, I had also thought because you had the clock motif, perhaps the 4 representing the 4th dimension being time. But there's a lot of little tricky mental puzzles in that artwork for people who have that to look at and kind of mentally toy with in their mind while they listen to the tracks.
Yeah.
And, it's really interesting because that, is something that we haven't seen for a long time, when the move to CD kind of came about. Now, you're also doing currently in these other assignments that you have for book jackets and album covers and the poster art. We still need to look at that 25th anniversary of Mental Health. In fact, we're going to pull that up right now. And again, we talked about that is actually not your original art.
No.
On that first Quiet Riot, 1983 Quiet Riot album, but you had to construct the poster information around it for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Well, that I guess was a fairly easy assignment because the bulk of the hard work was done, I guess we would say, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, Frankie had actually asked me to do that for him, and he kind of wanted to keep it simple and keep the focus on the actual album. So that's kind of what went with that. I've done two different versions. One version with like kind of black and white stripes. Because Kevin always had the microphone stand with the black and white stripes.
Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah. So that was my original version, was to kind of tie that in with it. He thought it was a little bit too busy, and he wanted to keep the focus on the Mental Health album cover. So that was the version we went with.
Wow. Now you're also currently doing, as I say, in addition to all these things, you're doing web design and web hosting and all that sort of services as well.
Yeah.
And you have your own company.
Yeah.
That does that. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it's my freelance designing business, and I call it Vamp Creative, and Vamp stands for Visual Arts and Media Presentations. And
that encompasses all these services that we've basically been discussing the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow. And how do people find you, Jen?
They can visit my MySpace page, which is MySpace/Jen Yonts, or they can email me at vampcreative@hotmail.com.
Well, Jen, I want to thank you so much, for your time and your input and speaking to the students and giving everybody a little insight into exactly what a graphic artist does, for a rock band or an author who writes, books, and, letting us understand, what it is that hopefully these students in the future, if their careers advance to that stage, can look forward to working, the types of people like yourself that they can look forward to working with and have a little insight to what that will be all about. So we thank you very much for sharing yourself.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay, and we'll talk to you real soon, okay?
Okay.